Hi everyone, this video is going to be about Jolly Phonics Group 4 and it will be divided into three parts. Part 1 will cover the materials we are using. Part 2 is going to cover how we are going to go through all the sounds listed under Group 4. Part 3 is subsequent reading. So let's dive into part 1, which is materials. The materials that I have used, it's either or here. If you are someone who prefers the analog one and the digital one, we use the Jolly Phonics iPad app. It has all the ones listed here, and I have the teacher's book here. Yeah, I have the teacher's book here. You could use any of this if you choose the analog way. The teacher's book has everything listed and it gives you a direction of how to go, but I use the iPad because it's convenient. Now the second resource we are using is the Pupil Book 1 for practicing writing. The third resource which we sometimes use are these sandpaper letters. The next resource we are using is this IKEA whiteboard. And the last resource that we are using are these orange readers, which is level 0 readers of Jolly Phonics. Now, part 2 of the video is how do we go about doing this, and this is the same procedure no matter what sound it is. Now, for example, I'm going to go through A. We will revise all the sounds that are listed here. We then listen to the story. The story is given here in the app as well as in the teacher's book, and once I have told the story, I will also list a YouTube resource. She's a wonderful Jolly Phonics trainer, and we see that YouTube video, and she goes through each of these sounds in Jolly Phonics pretty fabulously. I really like the way she does and explains each of these sounds. Once we've done the story, you could use a puppet, but I really use just fingers as a manipulator. You could also use puppets. I do not have the Jolly Phonics puppets because one, you need quite some space for it, which in Singapore is not a luxury. All right, now the next thing is the song. For A, each sound corresponds with a song. So for example,
my ear hurt, I was in pain. A. My ear hurt, I was in pain. What did you try to say?
and every song corresponds to a particular action. For example, A is like a pain in your ear, so the child does the action. So my daughter's like moving around and singing the song. So it's a way of kinesthetic learning. So we listen to the song, have fun, move around, dance around to the song, and that's a way of sort of reinforcing the sound. Once we've done that, we straight go to blending in the app. So for example, these are the words for blending, and we'll just go through each of these words and we will blend them. Once we have done the blending, we will then go to something called as sounding. Now there are these pictures in the app, and we will identify each of these pictures and count the sounds. For example, if this is a snail, we'll count how many sounds are in snail, which is s, ale, l, which is 4 sounds, and then we identify the position of the A, which is position number 1, 2, 3 or 4, or we can just ask a young child, is it in the beginning or a middle or the end? So it's a nice way to understand while we are forming words, what is the position of that particular sound. So that is sounding for you. Now we are next coming to the section which is looking at the letter formation. So again, I use the app and it does the letter formation or the sound formation, and we do a little bit of air writing. Sometimes we also practice these sandpaper letters, which is a Montessori manipulator. Sometimes we don't, but sometimes we do. It's an extra aid if you would like to use that. Where for very young children, when I started off, I certainly did use this in the group 1 and group 2 quite extensively, but not as much in group 4. I think I should start. Now, the next thing is to practice it, and this again in the app, you can also practice. I'm not a big fan of digital handwriting practice, but I just practice it as one of the modalities of learning it. So that's one. Once you've practiced it, we have the pupil book one, and you can see how extensively we've used it. We go to the sound, which is, for example, A, and my daughter will use the pencil and an eraser to sort of write all of these things and also identify. Once we have done that, we will go to the whiteboard and we will practice writing 4 or 5 times. So that covers the writing part. So this is typically the flow with which we cover every sound. We start with a little bit of revision, which is in the app. We say a story, look at the YouTube resource, and then we will sing a song, have some fun. And once we've done that, we'll do the blending. You also have the analog version also has this Jolly Phonics cards. I choose to use them. Once we have done the cards, we've blending, we do the sounding. Once we have done the sounding, we will do air writing or sandpaper tracing, and then we will trace on the Jolly Phonics app, write on the pupil book one, write on the whiteboard. And this typically takes anywhere between 2 days, 1 to 2 days, depending upon the activity levels of the child, sometimes even more. Jolly Phonics says you could do 1 sound a day, but from my experience, it's literally been like we cover one group. For example, in this it is A, J, E, I, O, R, which has taken us anywhere between 1.5 to 2.5 weeks, and that's the pace at which we are comfortable in terms of covering, which is not the prescription as per Jolly Phonics, by the way, but this is the pace at which we are quite comfortable in going. So that is a summary of how we've completed Jolly Phonics Group 4, and these are the resources. I'll be listing the links below of the resources, YouTube resources, and I'll also be listing the other resources which we have used. Now that we have learned about how we do, the last part is to read. So once we have done the writing, these are the Jolly readers. They are in 3 parts. Yeah. So one is, we've got Jaden's Lies. This is Just a Storm. And then we have got Red Jack's Fort. Now each of these readers, it incorporates the sound A very beautifully with a real story. It's not like Ben on a frog and Jog on the Cog kind of stories. It's a story which makes sense. So this is how this looks. This is Jaden's Lies, and we have this. Very interesting. So the child is able to build upon the knowledge that they have just learned. So after we have done all the 6 sounds in group 4, we do the readers in the end, which is basically a practical application of why have you learned these sounds. We have learned to sort of read them. So that's the part 3 of using readers. So hope this information was useful, and let me know if anybody has any questions on this. Thank you so much.